So you're.
Hello, everybody. Hope this is coming through. Oh, you're right, Mike. I keep forgetting my wee little lavalier mic I got because of that one video with the terrible sound. So tonight I am painting Batman. As you can see, I started. One of the things I realized when I'm actually doing a full-on painting like this, so that's how much you're missing there, just a little bit at the bottom, is after I'm happy with my drawing, I lightly either I take the drawing, graphite in the back, and then transfer it down, or in this case, I flipped it, the pencil drawing, and then transferred everything. So the graphite's really light. It's almost like a Vine charcoal in terms of how easy it is to erase rub down graphite. And in this case, I do a whole bunch of things that require washes, letting the paper dry, and then adding more washes, letting the paper dry, more washes, and I realized I should do that and also get this as close to a dry stage to start working on during the stream hours ago. And I kind of rushed it. You can, I'll hold it up here. One of the things I do before I tape is I'll hit a matte medium over the course of the whole paper so it's less likely to rip everything up. And I clearly didn't let the paper underneath the matte medium dry full enough, so there's some wrinkling here. So I'm a little worried about this edge pulling away later when I'm done. But so yeah, so I'll talk through what I did, some of the steps here. So I did use photo reference for the background, of course. And what I did is after the graphite was down, I lightened the graphite initially again just to make sure, because graphite can resist wax medium from like pencil crayons, and sometimes it resists water in water-based media. So I lightened it a bit. I have a kneaded eraser. I roll it out as much as possible and just lightly roll it across the surface, kind of like dough, and it picks up any of the other loose graphite, which is great because it means I can see the graphite, but it's very likely going to wash away as soon as I start applying brushes to it. And the next thing I did is I lightly traced over the building backgrounds with both a blue and a black watercolor pencil. These are really cheap, but they're Reeves, I think, but they serve for the purpose. So the drawing at this point, there's nothing done in Batman at that point, just the buildings. I scribbled in. So I want that blue and that black to be lightly, can you see this? So this is the blue. And in some areas I'll go on top of it with black. Sometimes the black will come down next to it. So the whole buildings, apart from the areas where the lights are watercolor pencil. And then I take my mister, which is just a tiny little spray bottle. I probably put it somewhere stupid. Oh, what's that? Is that it? No, that's not it. This one is bleach. That's what I use with dye-based pigments, so I can spritz them down and have them like do funky effects. Something I stole from Bills and Cabbage, but there's none of those types of things here. It's not anything that's going to be affected by bleach. But I'll use water, and what happens is of course it activates the watercolor in here. And then what I do is I pull away with tons, and I go through so much paper towel. And I pull it away to try and preserve the white. As you can see, the whites are very dirty here. So I'll be going back in with some white paint later, depending on the values. And then when I'm happy with that, I'll throw a light blue wash in watercolor over top of that, and I'll lift some of the stuff a bit more. And then I'll go back in with the kneaded up paper towel. I'll show you what I do. I'll take a paper towel, I'll fold it up so I get points. So after I had the blue wash over everything, I was like dabbing away in the areas where the pigment wasn't sticking. You can see some areas where the pigment stuck pretty good. So I dabbed it away with the blue wash. And actually, I painted this part of it upside down like this. So the pigment would start flowing down. And then I kind of like just cleaned up any excess that came to the water bead. And then I did something very similar with the bat, where I just hit in some light values, basically a Payne's gray. I had some yellow ochre with a little bit of cadmium red light. I wanted the lights have a little bit of color in them, so I just kind of washed that in quickly, and there was too much, and it kind of went to the cape, but that doesn't matter. The colors work together, I think. And then I did the watercolors through the Batman. I did a little bit of acrylic gouache to pull back some of the highlights I had lost. There was a bit of an accident in the wash where it just got too dark. So I went over top with very thin, very watery acrylic gouache. It picked up some of the watercolor, so it's not pure white, which is great, which is one of the things I like about having the watercolor, as it lifts up as it goes through. And then when I was happy with the general values, I mixed a black, in quotations. It was basically ultramarine blue and a burnt sienna. Did I add actually any black? I might have added actually a little bit of black to this, but it looks very, very dark in this stream. It looks black, right? It's not. It's close to black. It's a very dark gray. Here's some nice matte black right here. You can see how dark that is. This is just matte black paint. If I put it right next to the Batman's head, you can see how much grayer Batman is to this, because I might be pulling some real blacks in here to make him pop and separate from the background a bit more. And I'm also, at this point, I'm considering having this. I know I did Marv in the rain a couple weeks ago. I'm tempted to do Batman in the rain because that's a thing for me. I like doing Batman in the rain, which would mess up all the colors and everything. And actually, after, oh, did I just hit the camera? Maybe a little bit. And after I got to this stage, and I was putting on first the 2 coats of matte medium. And I do thin coats of matte medium, so it gives us some too, so I can put in with some colored pencils or whatever media I want on top of it without disturbing any of the stuff there. It also merged some of the colors a bit, and actually underneath the tape there's some brush work as the watercolor came down from underneath. I was like, oh shit, I should have taped it off first. So that was the first coat of matte medium. Second coat of matte medium flattened everything off. I actually might have pushed the black a little grayer, which is okay. And what that means is I can do all sorts of things on top of this, but all of this remains, right? So everything I'm doing, this is now pretty much untouchable. So I can do, I could do more watercolor on top of this, but it won't necessarily stick as well to the matte medium. But acrylic gouache will, colored pencil will, and I have super watered down for special effects as they get towards near the end. I have little jars of super fluid acrylics for using with my airbrush if I want to do some airbrush effects in here, which I might do some like little color gradations to tip and tie it together. So that's, I wanted to have everything to this point, because this took about 2 hours just on its own, because I put something wet and I'd have to walk away for 15 minutes. I'd do something wet and I have to walk away 15, 20 minutes, right? And the matte mediums took about an hour. So like I stopped fiddling with this about an hour ago. And in fact, I posted a picture of it on social media to show how shiny it was as the second layer of matte medium went down. And as you can see, it's a matte medium. There's no shine. There's a little bit of colored pencil. I was a little worried about losing this hand and this glove in the shadow work here, so I went over with a black colored pencil and just wanted to make sure that pops out a bit more. And another thing I thought of since getting to this stage is it's almost monochromatic. Sure, some of that yellow ochre, there's going to be some yellow in here, but it's going to be hit with a cool highlight on the bat belt. So there's some yellow ochre here and everything, and there's a little bit of yellow in there. But orange works really, really good against blue, but orange leaning towards red because it's Batman, it has to be scary. So I'm very likely going to be adding, actually I might start with that, adding a secondary red light source coming from off this direction, pointing in this way. So this side of Batman's face coming down to the side of his shoulder, the arm of the cape, back of the arm, and back of the glove is going to have some red in it. I don't know how literal I'm going to handle the light I might just let it, especially since if I'm going towards the rain, a lot of these hard edges are going to start disappearing. And then I'm probably going to be doing some like a little bit of paint splatter, maybe a little airbrush, a little bit more like a line work with maybe even a white acrylic pen, like one of these. Let me grab one. Here we go. Like one of these Posca acrylic pens. I might go in there and then hit it with my finger or a paper towel as I go through. So that's setting the stage. This is very literal. Someone on social media, when I took the picture of it with the matte medium on it, thought it looked pretty done, and I guess it kind of does look done. I mean, it's a bog standard Batman painting at this point. It's very literal. The drawing is very, very much there. The buildings are very much there. I guess I could just say it's done, but it doesn't feel done to me. It needs more texture. It needs more visual excitement and how the light's moving around. I got an implied super strong wind moving this way, so the rain's going to be going this way. So if the rain's going this way and he's got a red light coming here, it's going to have a nice diagonal coming through along this part, really far off center. It actually forms a nice triangle in here, which is a little element. So it's pulling back the focus of the image off center a bit, which I think is a nice touch. A lot of times, you go dead center all the time. A little asymmetrical, pyramidal composition's nice. I honestly did not think about what I'm going to do here. Once I had the cape coming around, tying around the back of his leg and then blowing through, I might do something here. Let's see if I can get one on hand. I could theoretically do, this looks okay. This is nice. I could take it's something I can get rid of if I need to. Yeah, take a white pencil crayon. I can do smaller. Here we go. I can do something like this. Imply a bunch of I don't know if they show up on screen. Maybe too far down. But I could do a bunch of like the water hitting, like imply a roof that he's standing on here, and they just have like water and the ellipticals, the circles from the and I have some mechanical ones drawn in there, which are going to make all the other ones look good because everything's going to fall apart. Yeah, okay, I can do like puddles. Okay, he's standing on a rainy rooftop in puddles. So that's okay. That's decided. That's what I'm doing, son. Any other media? I probably will use colored pencils. I will definitely be using acrylic gouache. I have a nice little range of colors. I don't like going too crazy with too many colors. It's a habit I get into with digital where I use all the colors because they're all there. I prefer, for actual painting, I prefer limited palettes where I reduce the amount of colors I have as much as possible. And as I go along, oh, hey, hands in, nice to see you already. Richard, it's covered by a heart on my screen, and I are watching. So Richard, say hi. So, yeah. So let me start seeing how red I want to go here. Let me get rid of these colored pencils. Don't need a regular pencil. Well, I might need a. Sometimes graphite, when you're working, you hit a white that's too intense, and you just want to dull it down a bit. A little bit of graphite and just rub it in, and it'll just push it down. It's so wonderful that way. All right, so at this point, I'm using acrylic gouache. So, and I'm using a lot of the Liquitex. Right, I bought a bunch of small ones initially, and then I started upscaling and buying bigger ones. So it's primary red, which is a hue because they're nickel and diming on reds, because reds are really expensive to do them right. But for my purposes here, this should be fine. I'm just going to start with a little bit of red. you know what? I may want to go orangier. So they have a nice little scarlet, which looks like a cadmium red light. So I'm going to put some of that down. What I'm using is, if you've ever had Nutella, not Nutella, sorry, Ferrero Rocher. You may have gotten it in these weird plastic containers. I love using these as palettes. It's reducing, you know, the whole reduce, reuse, recycle stuff. It's reducing, reduce, reusing. And since it's transparent, I can throw it on a piece of gray paper. And it allows me to have a better sense of like how these colors are going to look. And let me grab a brush. As always, I'm always using really super beat up brushes because that's the way I roll. I think I'll start with this one. This one's nice. It's in the Skoda Reserva. Let's start with the lighter scarlet. I'm just gonna. Yeah, I should probably put my glasses on. I'm gonna put a very thin. And you're gonna see the effect it has on the black right away. As soon as you throw a color over a black, it completely changes the nature of the black. Even though this is not really truly a black. And I can easily go over this again with either a real black or something close to a black. I don't want any hard edges from that. So as I go towards an edge, I'm probably going to do that so it fades a bit. I'd much rather build up to a strong red as I get there rather than get stuck with one that I have to fix. So it's a lot of like little baby steps getting these colors right. Hopefully you can see the red coming down here. The monitor in OBS is, it's on my super cheap laptop I bought just to stream. So the screen quality is mediocre at best, and it's already pretty small. Like I said before, I'm not wearing my glasses. I should really put my glasses on. Give me a second, I'll just finish playing with this red here a bit. I want some of that red coming down there. It's going out a little heavy. And since Batman is being hit by a red light on that side, probably. It's almost like dry brushing in some pigment. Just got to make sure you don't let it get too dark or too opaque this early on. But yeah, what I was saying is since this side of his face is getting hit by that red too, I'm gonna flood that part of his face with a little red wash. Yeah, I can't seem to get away from doing washes, man. Tap this in here a bit, because I'd rather, again, much rather come back in with additional red washes than I don't paint enough to be 100% confident with my ability to get that color right in the first go. I realized actually with the light source coming here, the tips of these gloves might actually get hit with some of that cooler light. So I might end up painting over those to get them exactly where I want them. So I guess it'll be a little bit of red in there. Nothing would be going through there. Just want some red color to creep into this entire part of the painting. This should be really a bigger brush for this part. Is that reading for you guys? Let's look on my bigger monitor. Actually, I'm looking on YouTube. It does not look like I've done anything. Hopefully I'm streaming. Let me just check something here. On my bigger monitor. Actually, oh yeah, there we go. Okay, I can see it now. And you can see where the wet is sitting on top of the matte medium. It actually makes it look as black as the as this, or nearly as black as that. So yeah, so this is how I'm going to be working. I don't want to overwhelm it with the red right off the bat, since I'm going to be doing more. I do want this to dry a bit before I throw another layer on. Darn it. There's my mute button. Start recording virtual cameras from those settings. Exit. There should be a mute button sitting right on the top here in OBS. I mean, like, start recording. See, I don't want to cancel it. I'm gonna have to look into that because I really want. You know what? I'm just gonna do it. Hopefully, this won't be too loud. Hopefully that wasn't too loud, because I'm going to have to do that a lot, which is part of the reason I started earlier, so I wouldn't have to inflict that constant hair dryer sound on you. So I use it a lot when I'm painting. I use it sometimes when I'm inking, when I'm just impatient to get more done. So I want to go a little bit richer here. You see that? Look, I'm not covering it too much. I should have use a mole stick or something here, because my hand's like right on the artwork. Brush is so beat up, I'm getting weird bubbles out of it just for using the strokes, because it's so watery. Those bubbles dry, it becomes like a hard speck of pigment. Okay, that's starting to, hopefully you guys are getting a sense of, oh, hey. Hi Brendan, how you doing? Oh, wonderful, that's good to know. I'm always a little worried about like what will show up, what won't show up. As you can see, I'm starting to get that sense of red light source, and I'm going to be doing things like in layers building up the opacity of that red. So I'm doing the side of Batman's nose here. Because I figure that the red light coming from this side is going to hit that side. It's going to hit that cheekbone. It's going to come down that side of the jaw. Come up that eye ridge. That's really popular. I have on Batman's head now. It's going to fade a bit back towards here. And it's going to fade a bit downward. Jaw, neck, a couple of wrinkles implied. And it's just me going like, can you see it? Yeah, I can see it. So I'm just using that scarlet. I'm not mixing, so the fact that it's a hue is not going to be a big issue. I find that hues are more problematic when you're mixing them with other colors. They'll give you results you're not expecting from because you're used to like a purer color. And this is not really going to be as I'm not aiming for realistic as much as impressionistic. I want it to be a cool Batman image as opposed to a hyper-realistic video game image or something, if that makes sense. Let's put a little bit going up there. Now, considering his skin color is significantly lighter than his costume, I get to do this wonderful thing where it's like his skin will be lighter, probably more red in comparison to the mask. So I'm essentially painting a very dead line of pigment down the side here. Because I want to see how red I'm going to go. So I just painted that line. I just wet down my brush considerably, and I'm going to paint into that line with a wet brush. It's not dripping or anything, but it's going to pull that pigment into the rest of the work. So I can weaken it a bit, and I can let that color pop a bit. And the more layers, because this is an opaque medium, the more layers I put down, the more towards this very, very bright orangey red this is going to get. And since I'm doing it in washes, or thin layers of paint, it'll allow me to build towards a really striking use of that color. And then because it's going to be so thin, if it goes too far, I can immediately pull it back. fingers are great for painting. Just using to pick up stuff. One of the weird things is I'm going to be covering this with so much like splatter and paint effects that a lot of these details are just going to disappear as soon as I get into them, as soon as I get into doing the special effects. But I want that concrete level of drawing to be there, because the drawing is what's going to carry through here. Going a little more opaque than I just want to speed it up so you guys don't get bored. So I'm going a little more opaque, and I'm going to probably throw some washes over top to soften some of this stuff. But I'm getting close to the intensity of that reddy orange, that scarlet that I want. Now his arms are gray in this costume, so this is also going to be lighter than the black. So I have to keep that in mind. And it's coming towards us, so the contrast in that will become a lot more apparent. Because of the proximity to the front of the imagery. Yeah, it's looking mighty red, isn't it? If you have any questions about what I'm doing, what you want me to do. Oh, you like the lettering? All right, that's cool. That's cool, because that's generally how I do it. There's another way I could do this where I literally just, it's a color drawing approach, which is not far off from what I'm doing, where I would do this, the actual drawing, go over it with, I'd either paint it in waterproof ink, or colored pencil, black colored pencil, because it stays, because of the wax pigment. It doesn't get picked up by the wet media. And then I could do washes, like I'd do like a dark value of the color wash over the piece where I wanted to, and then I'd be just painting highlights and shadows and stuff. I saw a video showing that Dave Finch and Ariel Olivetti, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, I think it's Ariel Olivetti, do that approach where they do the drawing and then they do the acrylics over top to get some wash effects and stuff. And it's a really good, really traditional approach to painting. It's something I did back when I worked in acrylics a lot. But I find I like, I guess maybe because I'm just slow, but I like this layering approach a little bit more, because as I get into it, I can like drop it back a lot. Again, some more of that red down the length of the glove. Using a wet brush to pull that pigment up a bit. And here this is probably the thickest layer of the red I've applied so far. And this would be, I'm rushing a bit, so I'd probably let this dry before I go there. In fact, I think I'm going to hit with the hairdryer. Because there's some areas where they look darker because they're still wet, and I'm not quite sure how much more value I want to, how much more of that red I want to put in. So here, in comes the hairdryer. Conair! Yeah, you can see where some of the bubbles actually dried almost opaque there. That sucks. That's okay. It's going to work with the rain effects I add later. A lot of these hard edges are going to be gone by the time I'm done this piece. I might do some pencil drawing with black colored penciled in to get some of the details in the face back. I'm losing them a bit with the washes, which is okay, it's standard. But I don't want to go so far that I go, how did I draw that again? That would be terrible. And the wonderful thing about this is there's one of my favorite early painters, a guy named Maxfield Parrish. He had this really weird way, at least according to what I read, of doing his paintings where he just did literally pure pigment washes, one on top of the other, where he felt he needed them to get his paintings to the level they were, that high level of realism he did. And if you look at him in person, I've seen a couple in person, which is fabulous. If you see a couple of his paintings, you can actually see that technique going into his paintings. And I think that's affected me a bit. There's part of me that loves like throwing down thick paint and just moving it around, but it's more of an oil paint technique. That's getting there. Now let's see what happens if I just do like a nice thick, using the pure color as the highlight, as it were. I can actually step this back a bit after, so I don't need this to go really strong here for a minute. Just clearing out the brush, got a little bit of water on it, just going to soften the edges of these pure brush strokes down here. Pull them across a bit. It's good actually having that monitor right there, even though it's running a lag. It's like about down to 5 minutes behind, because I'm not painting right now when I see my hand moving around. It really gets an idea of like how far along I've gone into the red here. I was tempted to give him an elbow pad, but I figured that would be, with how little I'm planning to do details down this far of the figure. I figured, you know, elbow pads might look really, really weird. I also figured that Batman would wear more or less matte colors. I mean, he doesn't want to shine so much. So whenever I see someone do highlights on his suit, I'm like, really? Wouldn't he want to just disappear? Almost be invisible? Because he's the knight. You know what I mean? Know what I mean? I think I'm going to just, right in there, I just want to pull some of that pigment out a bit. A little too pure. Start reapplying it back up here. The other technique I'm talking about, I just remembered, I think Simon Bisley works that way as well, Gleb Fabry, where they have a black and they paint out of it. Notes, here we go. I'm happy you like the elbow. Yeah, so the tricky part, this is going to be the most easily read part of this red. I guess that's part of why I wanted it there. It really changes the dynamic between the foreground and the background with adding this red here. This is oil I'd be throwing down like solid red tiles and then blending them into the adjacent colors as needed. But this is not oils. This is Sparta. No, so never mind. It's Cake Town. I am going to start being a little more bold and gutsy with like how these highlights are coming on the edge of the cape. Especially if, you know what, he's not wearing a shiny costume, but if he's in the rain, the water will have highlights, and that's going to allow me to do some of the stuff when I, like, you see how careful I'm being with the reds, because this is going to be obfuscated. I mean, I want to obfuscate stuff that reads really well instead of, you know, rushed or sloppy. I have to say, I think being an artist is possibly one of the least environmentally friendly jobs on the planet. I go through so many paper towels, so much water, so much pigments. They're mined from the earth. And then I think about like what assholes like Elon Musk do, and I went, I'm fine. This should be a bigger brush. Here's an old beat up Winsor Newton. I generally use my newer brushes for ink, even though I don't hardly use brushes for ink anymore, or watercolor. For acrylic, I want a brush that's either really cheap and throwawayable or disposable, which is, another environmental no-no, I guess. Or one on its last legs. It just feels better that, like, if I'm using something I know is going to be destroyed. And acrylic, from my experience anyway, acrylics really are hard on brushes. The way you have to clean them and everything. All right, I don't think that any of that red's going to hit any of the stuff on the highlight side. It's all just going to be back here. But that red light will be splattering into the rain coming down. So what I should do, hang on. Take some of this. Pulling some of that red into here. I have part of that whole reduce, reuse, recycle stuff. I find my favorite containers for brushes in general are pickle jars, pickle or beet jars, like nice big solid heavy glasses that don't get knocked around too much. But when I'm painting and I don't want to be getting up and changing my water like constantly, I take cake lids. Have you ever bought a cake at a grocery store? They come in they have these see-through plastic lids. And so I use those, and so I have this vast container of water, and I didn't have to buy special materials or anything for it. All right, so that gives me some nice red to have, like, just there. I'm gonna throw some more red down here. Give me a bunch of that red. So I have a vast container of water. It's probably holding 2 liters of water right now. And then I have a glass jar right next to it with clear water, so after I rinse it in the big vat of water, I can rinse it in a cleaner glass of water, and it makes my brushes close to clean. Let me tab out some of the dots. Might do another layer of washes there in a bit. Now over here, I want that hard line showing up on that side of the head. Over here, so this is the side that's being hit by light. I think this is, I'm probably going to do a slight little dark color wash on this glove because it seems to be popping too much. That highlight's too close to the cape there. I think that should be a little less. Yeah, I might even like just do a dark blue gray wash over all the blues here. Or you know what, I might even just go with like a really dark. Do I have an ultramarine in here? I do. I have a nice ultramarine blue. I can do a thin wash of that and it'll actually blue up and darken, especially if I add a little bit of add some burnt sienna. Make it nice and dark. Yeah, let's do that. Wow, like a dirty brush or brush tip thing here. A couple of drops. One of the things I like about the Liquitex containers, even though I'm using the bigger ones, I'm waiting for some of the small containers to run out, is I can just put literally a drop out and it gives me everything I need. And I'm not wasting much. With a tube of paint, I generally find I go through, I put out way too much. Let me mix this up here and see how dark this gets. So it becomes a really dark blue, almost black. I should probably use my palette knife, but I know I'm going to be throwing so much of this down there. It doesn't matter as much. Squeegee off that. Clean off the brush. Let's see how this thins out. Yeah, that turned into a nice dark blue here. I'm not going blue on Bats, but I am going blue on this cape and his other yellow leather stuff. And I'll be painting highlights out of it. But already that's just shifting that whole area down nicely. And for the utility belt, I'll probably end up pulling out like straight up, you know, actually I said I was going to start here and I didn't. Here you go. So it pushes down the really, really light eye area from the sort, I guess it's highlights, even though it's watercolors and I just didn't. Oh no, this is the off-white gouache I mixed. What's that? It's a little bit of pigment I didn't mix. That's never good. I'm going to go right up to the edge of the gray and the yellow there. Just put my side of my hand in the water down here. That's not good. This will change the value of that really, really dark under the matte medium as well, because the matte medium kind of does a weird graying out effect. I want to go up here too. So coming into the cape. And that slight, well, it's very wet right now, but Oops. Soften all those edges a bit. There we go. The blue will make that red pop a little bit more. Just want these shadows to merge a bit, so I pull that down into there a bit. And I want the glove, even though I got a highlight in there, I need to push it back. Again, damp brush, stick it into the edge of the pigment I put down, and pick some of it up and then thin it out. Pushed everything back there a fair amount. I like that. I'm gonna have to see how it darkens before I commit to like leaving it at that. You know what I mean? Have to see how these colors sit next to each other once the wet's gone. Because the water has a weird effect on the value of the pigment on the paper. I also want to do some of this. I want to darken this cowl a bit, even though I'm going to be painting highlights back into it. I want to get I'm going to try to get those highlights at the end of it. Oops. Brush just slipped right off the edge here. Doesn't really matter again because I'm going to be doing stuff, but you know, it doesn't hurt to be a little careful. Now, the eyes are going to be painted near the end. They're very light now. And it helps you, you know, keep an awareness. I was going to say keep an eye on. Keep awareness of where they are for when you get later into painting and you want to like fix and change things. Yeah, I think that's too much in there. Let's pull that out. Do a second coat in the hand now. It looks like it's dry. I red one to that gray there a bit. I don't like that. Well, what can you do? Paint over it. Okay. I might actually go back in with a little bit of red over top of this once this dries to get them. If I get these things playing back and forth with each other, it's going to have some interesting effects. And I kind of like that. Let's get the little darker around the eye here. Even though I'm going to be doing the whole glowing eye effect thing, kind of would like to have more control when I get there. I want some of that, not a lot of it, to come back into the dark shadow here, so these blend a little bit more, even though it's going to be gray and I don't want them to be identical. I do want these shadows to merge a bit. I'm probably going to do some white highlights on the top of oh, there's a bug on here. Check the blue. Maybe I'm going to mix another slightly different color. Mix some of that scarlet with this blue black that we made. I made, but you're here, so you're witnesses. Witness. Get a little bit of different. It's probably a thicker brush I should be using for these details. Again, we're at a point where I have to wait for things to dry. Right now, actually, because of the way it overlapped here, it looks like there's kind of like a hook to his nose. I don't know if that shows up on your screens or not. Okay, well, the red is now dry enough for me to do another. Yeah. Okay, incoming hair dryer. All right, so if I'm going with rain, how are we doing time-wise anyway? 8:05, so we're an hour in. Oh gosh. If I go too much past 9 and it looks like there's going to be a lot to go, I'll stop it and I'll finish it next week, just to give everyone an idea of what I'm doing. So have the red light coming in. You can see some of the glow starting to affect. I'm going to be doing other effects as we get close to that, because there's going to be light hitting the raindrops as they come through, so there's going to be some of that stuff happening too. And then the highlights coming down. So like these, under a more intense light, there's going to be some blowout on the light side, which I kind of like. It's going to make them disconnect from this almost gray mid-value background here. And I'm going to be doing effects in the background to make it look like there's more rain. Some splatter, I'll do a little splatter, maybe wipe it up a bit in the direction of the rain, which will kill the intensity of the white, but it'll also, you know, make it kick ass a bit, you know what I mean? Know what I mean? Now, what I could do is I could do a map with a white pencil crayon where all my highlights are going to go. Where's my white pencil crayon? I had a nice sharp one earlier when I was working. Did I not put it here? Looking through like one of my pencil carousels. No, that's where I put the watercolors. Oh, there is a white. Here's a white. Oh, it's a very dull white. Okay, I'm going to have to sharpen it. Well, let's put it over here. All right, pencil sharpening sounds. Oh, it's sharp enough for this. All right. So if I want the light coming from here, this light, there's going to be harder highlights along the edge of the nose. There's going to be that cheek cut in here. Light coming on the side of the cowl. Going up side of the helmet, up to the ear, whatever they call that. Cowl's ears. Don't know what to call them. Now, one thing about the white is it doesn't go as opaque as paint, but it does stick out in the media. So I want like a highlight there. Well, you know what? Hang on. That's not good. Well, here's the white pencil crayon. It just rolls under something. Where's my black pencil crayon? Those are a sad state. I've used them up so much. I need to. Last time I went looking for black colored pencils, they were out, which I think is part and parcel of like. So this is all the black pencil crayon I have left right now. Darn. So I'm going to do is this one under the nose here a bit. I'm going to pull that back. Bring some of the drawing back when I do this. So yeah, essentially what I'm doing is I'm drawing back to the drawing, make sure I don't lose too much. And I could theoretically even hit this with another layer of matte medium after I get this down. Highlight there. Using my finger to blend the colored pencil in a bit more so it doesn't look as gritty going down. That. I think I want some of those scallops from the bottom of his cape to show through here. So let me just do that. I'll just rub it in with some damp paper towel. The heat will smudge it and blend it quite nicely. Friction on the paper will soften the edge of the... You can also use lighter fluid to activate and liquefy. Colored pencil in a really interesting way. I picked that up from Aaron Campbell. He's an amazing artist. All right, a lot of chat going on. Let's see here. Yeah, I think it's about 50-50 digital to traditional media in terms of oh, that's a brilliant use of a pickle jar. Hey Foo, how you doing? Add a mold, please. You know, he does have a mold, but it's under his bat trunks. Just, you know, a little secret for y'all to know. I think this is going to the place I need it to go. I'm going to hit it with a hairdryer again, and then another layer of matte medium, and then I gotta let that dry. So I'll let you guys ask me to draw something in the interim. So so think about that. I am going to need 10 minutes or so to let this dry. I have to put the matte medium on, even with the hairdryer. So at that point, it's a free-for-all for whatever you want me to draw for 10 minutes or talk about. Oh, hang on one second. Just had a thought. How dark can this, how opaque can this get? Not that opaque, eh? Yeah, I'll need the matte medium on top of, to do his belt pouches. And then this might end up being a paint thing more than like just have to whip up my yellow pigments, which I have. So that's looking pretty waxy, pretty thin. Oh, maybe if I could do 2 coats with the matte medium. No, that didn't make much of a change. All right, let me hit it just a little bit more. Now, for my matte mediums, I also use a Ferrero Rocher thing. Those little weird plastic boxes you get at Christmas. There it is. So these are great for mixing small amounts of paint or whatnot. What I use is matte medium. I got a big jar of this from Golden brand, and I haven't used it yet. So I'm really curious, like, what the difference between either of them are. This one's lovely. I just put way too much in there. Lovely for what I'm doing right now. Let me dry off this brush because I cleaned it earlier after doing the other matte layers. So I squeeze out a little extra water so I don't dilute the medium too much and make it take longer to dry. Alright. If any of you saw William Alexander, he was like, I think, a precursor or co-home painter with Bob Ross. He used to do this thing where it's like he'd rinse off his brushes in his terps, and then he'd flap them back and forth really rapidly against one of the struts of his easel, and it would just splatter out all the terps, I guess, on I wouldn't have wanted to work in that studio. But it's a habit I picked up. If I got a big brush like this and it's wet, I'll hit it against like one of the supports on my drawing table, and all that water will just get splattered out in no time at all. Okay, so I usually will do 2 coats. I'll do one vertical, one horizontal, and keeps the surface reasonably matte. But I think since the rain's going to be coming in, I really intensified the red a bit. What I'll do is I'm just going to pull it in along the lines of the diagonal that the rain's going to be coming in. And then that goes into the water. And wow, look how much I'm wasted here. Well, if it's wet near the end and I don't think there's dry bits in it, I could use it for like a final coat. All right, so at this point, the wonderful thing about the matte medium, it really deepens the colors that went underneath. But this makes it a perfect, did I miss a spot? No, it's wet, okay. Makes it perfect to start doing my special effects, my lighting effects. I'm going to be doing like all sorts of stuff, like the way lights get more intense and glow when there's rain, like it's coming through the rain, so there's little splatters, so there'll be little splatters of like intensity. I'm going to go with some white paint and like just bring those lights forward a bit. There's also going to be, I want Batman's eyes to glow. That's not realistic by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, it's Batman. You know what I mean? Know what I mean? And if there's a shine that's showing up on this, there's a shine showing up this, that's because it's still wet. Let's pull that right up too close to the camera. There you go. There's a nice detail shot. Ooh. All right, let's see. Did anyone make any suggestions for what they want me to draw for 10 minutes? Elric Stormbringer. Oh my god, that's a design challenge. God, I'm also an Elric fan too, so that's I'd probably lean pretty heavily to either the Michael Whalen Stormbringer or the Robert Gould Stormbringer. That's where my design influences would go with that. I'd love to do. That cover's done. That cover's done. Okay, yeah, all those covers are done. All right. Sorry, there's a to-do list. So Stormbringer, huh? So the wonderful thing about Stormbringer is it's an impossible demon sword. Straight enough. All right. So I know. Okay, so all that's fitting on. And it was a hand and a half or a bastard sword. I think sometimes it's described as like a two-handed sword, but it's, you know, it's a demon. So you want to have a nice blade width. It's a leaf tip. Let's put the pommel down here. We're going to put the pointed star. So I'd put the 8-pointed star of chaos in the hilt. So I'd have that in there. Hand and a half, so I probably want the end of the hilt there. Now the blade length might change depending on how I do the pommel. Now, I think Robert Gould did this like really super thick pommel, which was beautiful in his illustrations, but didn't really work for me visually. How can I turn this into? Trying to think if I could actually mimic that 8-pointed star somehow in here and have it work. So if we had, that's 3, then I have to figure out how to do 5 more points on an uneven side. So that may not be a smart push. Let's pull that back then. Just a bunch of spikes heading up. 4 and 4, so I actually get 4 teeth, as it were, heading up, and then I would have the runnel, which really isn't for blood. I used to think it was for blood because that's like, I think someone told me that when I was playing D&D or somewhat. But apparently it's for weight. That groove they dig out of the middle, for the vast majority of swords, it's about the weight in the sword. So that groove they dig out, grind out nowadays in like shows like Forged in Fire. Apparently that's a great way to reduce excess weight on a blade. Alright. Let's throw this in here. Let's put like an eye. Now this would be black. I did grooves on it. That was just, gut feeling. Because when you're drawing swords, you always do that. But there's runes up and down the blade. I figured everything would be solid black. And you'd have to do highlights to make stuff show up. So if I was doing this in pen and ink, the sword would always appear to be a black silhouette, and then I would either find weird magical symbols online as a resource file, and then draw them up and down the length of the blade. Like I think here in the chaos symbol works here, I'd probably put like another symbol right here in the middle, but then it would otherwise be black, an 8-pointed black shape as a pommel. I might even make that an eye. So the eye of Stormbringer. And then the blade itself would be black. I don't know if I'm in love with that. It looks almost like, I want it to look like teeth, but right now it looks just like a whole bunch of like 2 pointy bits. I like how it kind of curves in like that, but that's something I could very easily fall out of love with. And then the sword itself, let me use a, there's no tip on that pencil. Use a wider pencil to, here we go. Oh, there's no tip on that pencil. Okay, sharpener. So I'd fill this in solid black. Although I gotta say, there's part of me that want to do like weird atmospheric effects around Stormbringer when he's fighting with it. Because I mean, it's literally sucking in the souls of people it's killed. And it really wouldn't be covered in blood because all the blood would be sucked up into the blade. I mean, it's Stormbringer feeding when it's not otherwise going to Ariok. Yeah, I know the character. So I'd probably do, if I was doing a pen and ink Elric book. And if you haven't seen the European Elric editions coming out, they're gorgeous. I still got to pick up volume 3, I think. I have to double check to see what's out. So I'd do things like, kind of like the shadow behind Stormbringer would be like weird shaped dot patterns from my rubber stamps or something like that. Yeah, and probably, you know, fill them in solid black and go in with a white pen to draw the runes afterwards. I should have done this in pen and ink. I'd probably put those runes in the pommel when you saw the pommel. So like the entire thing is literally constant runes representing what it took to bind the demon that's inside Stormbringer. There's some new lovely additions. I think Brom painted the covers. I got to get them. It's been I think at least 20, if not 30 years since I reread Elric. So that's long overdue. Yeah, Stormbringer. Here we go. So, That's true, yeah. Chaos Sigil. I am an Elric fan, yes. Souls! Yeah, that's actually what I was singing. I was singing either simplified just skulls representing generic death, which would be easier and faster to do in a comic book. And nothing wrong with, you know, that. So... something along the lines of that. I don't know if they'll show up. Kind of wispy phantom ghost skulls. Something like that. Just like a very subtle, constant, kind of like bleeding of the damned out of the sword. So with that, but of course the sword would be, you know, darker, blacker. And of course I'd go in and I'd do those glowing red sigils, especially if it's feeding. So yeah, that's how I do Stormbringer. Oh, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Who knows? I might do Elric as a subject someday. There's enough interest. And then I could literally harken back to this and just have them like holding, you know, Stormbringer aloft and then really lean into that effect. That would be a nice 11 by 17. Maybe I'll do that next week. Honestly, I prefer to actually do people's commissions again until I actually start taking, because deadlines, I'll probably take a few Sundays in September to do Conan panels live. No spoilers in them, but, you know. Yeah, all right, let's see if, oh, there goes my ellipse template. All right, so this should be dry. Okay, that looks pretty darn dry to me. Let's see. Let's do that belt before I forget. Actually, no, I used a finer brush for this. So far, I've only used, apart from the matte medium, I've only used 2 brushes, which is atypical for me. I usually go through, got a big pile of brushes, like, I'm not going to use that color again, and I just ends up staying buried in a water jar until the end of the session, the painting session. Then I clean all of them all at once. Had this great thing, and I don't know what I did. I must have accidentally thrown it out. I took some pool foam tube, and I cut a chunk of it, and then I put little grooves so I could slide brushes into it, so just the tips are floating in water. That was handy. So I'm taking some yellow ochre. It's already on top of a very green pencil crayon here. So what I'm going to do is I just want to bring that yellow back, but not too aggressively yellow. So yellow ochre should serve. I'm going to do a couple layers there, of course. I don't have to worry too much about that. And normally I cut my white with something, but I think this piece will be fine for me to do essentially pure white. Rotate the palette a bit. It's good old-fashioned uber cold titanium white. Oh, this one's not been opened before. Or it has, and it's sealed up. Hang on, let me check. That's weird. It's like the tip dried out. So it might pop. Pop, pop. I usually have push pins floating around, but I can't see any, so I'm going to use a paper clip. I think I used paper clips when I talked about perspective before. That was in a short video on Instagram. I'll do a longer video about perspective and using paper clips folded up for, here we go, yeah, this is, wow, it's like it's almost dried out in there. Hope the paint's okay. Just get this tip out, extracted. Huh. There we go. That's what I wanted. And with that, I put the lid on, or I put over that. Here we go. So I'm thinning out the white. Can you see that? No, it's just off the edge of the, there we go. So I'm thinning out the white. I want the idea that this is glowing. So I want to create some whiter points in the midst of all this soupy gray area from the washes running. Tip my brush a bit. When a brush gets too full of water, it kind of widens out the tip. So I'm just like pulling thinner elements. I could even use a ruling pen for this. Hope you guys know what a ruling pen is. Oh, if you guys want to guarantee a dry Elric, the quickest way to do that is to commission me to dry Elric during a live stream. So that's my subtle pressure to try and throw money at me. It'll show up. Yeah, it's showing up a bit. Actually, even though the red's just want some of that light to get across. That it's real light, and it glows, and it has intensity, and it throws all that light around. So there's windows in here that just completely disappeared with all the washes. Actually, honestly, the crane up here, after all the distortions with the watercolor and glazing and all that stuff, it actually looks more realistic with so much of it gone than when I originally penciled out. It looks so freaking clumsy. All right. So that's popping a lot better, I think, now. Yeah, Conan panels. I'll have deadlines to meet, and sacrificing drawing something original on Sunday nights and doing a couple of panels might be the smartest thing I can do. I'll get one of the hairs just, oh, wow, must be from this different brush. Jump around hitting highlights, I think, with a pure bit of pigment than I had in the first pass. Yeah, take this watery, very watery white and drop it here in the background. Start adding some of that lightning effect. Not lightning, but lighting effect that these washes can do. And then I can make Batman pop a bit more back here. I don't mind the bubbles sitting here because they'll add to that rain effect that we're going to be adding shortly. That should give an idea like how the rain's going to go. Do want a little bit more intensity in some of the highlights where the white is hitting really wet, splatting around. So what I'm doing is I'm using I beat up the hell out of the tip of the brush. I'm loading the prongs that it's created to give me kind of like stampy little highlights. Yeah, me and my stamps. I'm going to be doing the same with the red when I get over to there. So I want it to all add that level of texture. You can use these splayed out bristles to dry brush down some brush effects. Before I start doing other stuff, like paint lines and tamping them down and stuff like that. So I put out a red I didn't even touch. Theoretically, I could do something with it, but yeah, so the colored pencil will give me kind of like a very faded level of line. Should be gonna wait until a lot of this is dry before I really get into that. I'm gonna be doing like more intense white and less intense white and some different colors, and there's gonna be some foreground rain strokes. Oh, you're right. Let's get back into these. Whenever I think of drawing these, I think about what Ballin did in Killing Joke. So good. Maybe I should have went darker with that sky. I like it though. Sorry, I just want the right angle. Now, do I have a color close to that red in my colored pencil kit? I think I do. I think this is pretty close. Grab a paint pen. Got a few of those. Which one do I want to use? It's always got this one going too. Alright. So I got this acrylic paint marker. Got it off of Amazon of all places. Actually, you know what? Let me smudge these. In the foreground a bit so they're not as choppy looking when they're very good. So this is just really intense pure white paint. There will be splatter, by the way, because, you know, I like splatter, man. Nothing ties it better, faster than good old-fashioned splatter, man. Splatter man, splatter man. Splatter man. Spins a web, covers it with paint. Oh yeah. I got nothing. Okay, time-wise, a little after 9. I'm going to finish it, so we don't have to do this in 2 parts. So that's good. Splatterman, Splatterman. Oh, very cool. That's a good combination. Danny Elfman and this Batman. I like it. I think I want to do a little bit more. Oh, good, I have another sharpener. I want to. Go with that. And you know what? I actually don't have a toothbrush ready for acrylic splatter. I think I'm gonna have to go grab my white paint. This gouache and black ink ones are soaking right now. Give me a second. I'm gonna run into the other room and get them. Once upon a time, when I'd start using a toothbrush for like splatter of any sort, I'd just use it till it was like unusable anymore and toss it out. And that didn't take very long. I go through a toothbrush every month? I try and remember to change them regularly. So I was always having like a big pile of toothbrush, and I realized, whoa, I blew out the rest of the plug from that clogged up. I think I'm gonna have to put some of that back in my jar. It's too much paint, man. Even for me, it's too much paint. Let me just pick some of that up and put it back in. Here we go. There, that's plenty. Throw that in there. Yeah, I just blew out whatever residual amounts of that plug were left. All right, let me mix some of that up into like a nice thin wash. Gonna load up the brush. The thin wash initially. My mic out of there. Much better. some bigger splatters. Let's load up this brush. Really heavy here. That's what I get for not putting on my latex gloves when I'm splattering. I think I got almost as much paint on my thumb as I got on the painting. Oh wow, I just dropped my airbrush. That cannot be a good sign. Watch me wreck my airbrush just before I start using it. Sorry for all the noise, that's my airbrush filling up. Gotta find my titanium white airbrush paint. Ah, damn it. Knew I was going to do that. It's been so long since I used it, it just flowed like crazy. That's part of why I masked it off so much. How bad is it? Ooh, it's not great. Look at that. Kind of messed it up. I can fix that. That's not an issue. There we go. That gave me what I wanted. my airbrush settings are off. That's going from like very little spray to huge spray in almost like no time at all. Yeah. Huh, one of my lights just went out. There we go. Well, if you can't see me screw up once in a while, you know, what's the point of watching it live if there's no mistakes getting made? Okay, so the main thing right now is to fix that. Just gonna leave some water in there while I fix that red. Now, first off, can I rub it out with some? Nope, it's too dry. All right, fine brush. See if I can just push it down with the red right now. Might have to re-dry into that. It's an easy enough fix, really. Also notice there's a darker spot here on the side of his helmet that I want. Where's cowl? How's that? I can leave some of that white there because I'm going to be going back on top of it quickly enough to actually do that again. Gonna do it again. Actually, don't mind throwing a little bit more red here and there. Actually, I might splatter some of that red in there. Feels like I underperformed with the red a bit. Okay, cleaning out the brush, cleaning out the toothbrush now. Get that white out of it. Dry it up. Again, utilizing those paper towels. Alright, and let's make a little splatter red. Just a little bit, and then I can go back in and do the highlight from the eye again. And it feels like that eye's too small, the one on my right. So I might have to go back in there with my white paint marker. So I just want a little bit of this. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, just a little bit. It's not going to show up as much as just be there. Don't want to risk anything drying up inside the airbrush. So before I try that again, actually maybe I should, it's missing white splatter there, isn't it? Damn it. Toothbrushes all the way down. Just a little bit of white splatter. And then I'll try the airbrush again. Hopefully I won't screw it up this time. Make sure I clean out all that red because I don't necessarily want pink white paint. Soak this down again. There we go. I'm going to clean this thoroughly after the session because, oh my God, I already had to throw out one airbrush for not cleaning it properly. soak in the water for a bit. Don't know if that's good for the airbrush, but it seems to be helping keep it clean. All right, so what we're looking at is essentially done painting for what I want to do. Kind of ghostly kind of thing. Don't want to do any more black into that. Just to Wow, did it again. There we go. You know what? I actually figured those tips would come out, so I'm going to go back and see if I'm going to do that with just a little bit of white pencil crayon. Actually, no. I got a light gray pencil crayon. I just want to do something subtle. Probably best not to go right to... This your color one is very harsh. Prismacolor probably better. Drop some white on top of that to lighten it. First I do that. Take a look at this in my mirror, see how that looks. Wow, it looks like he's splattered with blood, which is kind of cool. Buildings really recede nicely into the background. Really looks like night. It's a city, so the way the nighttime city fills up with light when it's raining. And I guess that's it. I guess I'm done. Oh my gosh. I did most of the painting online because I avoided all the stuff that would have sat there with me drawing Elric Stormbringer blades and all that stuff in the interim. I want to give this another coat of matte medium because it's always ties things together better. I'll probably hit it with a coat of fixative first. I don't think I need to do that live online. And I got to sign it. I'm always really tentative and everything with signing on paintings. Where's my other finer white marker? It's a brush pen. These are all black. I probably put it down somewhere, obviously, and forgot. Can I sign fine enough with that one? Yeah, maybe. All right, let's see if I can sign. I think this looks like a good place to sign. And it's done. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Yeah, this is not a commission, so this is a piece I did. I guess I'm going to keep with it. Every piece I just do on my own is going to go to the food bank, which is what I'm asking for people to do commissions because, you know, money. But yeah, so it's a full painting. This size pen and ink I'd probably charge $250. Probably like $500 for it, but if someone wants a bid $500 for it, that's yours. Otherwise, I'm going to put it up for auction maybe tomorrow night on Facebook, and then see what I get by Friday afternoon. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. This was a real. Oh, let me take a look at any sort of here. Thank you very much, Anson. Yeah, I'm going to end the stream here because I'm going to spray it with some fixative and give it a couple layers of matte medium before photographing it. And thank everyone for showing up. No idea what I'm doing next week, so if someone wants a commission, hit me up, and then that becomes what I'm drawing next week. You just go to Cadence for that. It's a standing thing in their commission section. And that's it. Thank you all for showing up. Please like and subscribe, because apparently my saying that gets more people to subscribe. And when I get 1,000 subscribers, apparently I got a shot at making money off of doing these streams. Isn't that amazing? Barring that, feel free to support me on my Patreon. It's only $1 a month, and you get to see everything that I don't put out in social media. So there's a lot of stuff that is either censored or I just never post on social media, and it's all there. And that's it. You guys have a great week. Again, thanks for coming by, and hopefully I'll see all of you next week.